50 stars, 13 stripes, red, white, and blue. The American flag represents a nation conceived in the ideas of liberty and justice for all. In just one word, the flag is symbolic of freedom, political, economic, and otherwise. That freedom is what makes the United States so unique throughout all of human history. Freedom so profound that included in it is the right of a person to even destroy the emblem of our nation itself. Concerning the still hotly debated issue of flag burning in the United States today, should this type of action or protest remain protected by law, or should there be legal consequences? To lots of patriotic persons, this act is looked upon as disrespectful and edges or crosses the line between free protest and criminal behavior. Regardless of their beliefs, the Supreme Court has long held that flag burning is protected under the First Amendment as free speech and expression. However, the opposing side has often used politics in Congress to battle for legislation that would potentially change the law of the land. A political timeline leading up to today begins in the 19th century. First, in 1897, as a result of a flag protection movement, there are the adoption of state flag desecration statutes in all states by the year 1932. In 1968, there was an adoption of a federal flag desecration law that made it illegal to knowingly cast contempt upon any flag of the United States. It followed a well-known Central Park flag burning incident that was in protest of the Vietnam War. In the 1970s, at least 20 states revised their flag desecration laws in an effort to conform to constitutional restrictions, shifting the focus from verbal abuse to physical desecration. In 1989, Congress passed the Flag Protection Act, but was forced to revise the federal flag desecration law of 1968 in order to comply with the constitutional boundaries set in precedent by the Texas v. Johnson decision. In 1995, Congress first proposed the Flag Desecration Amendment. It was proposed 6 times, each time passing the House of Representatives and failing the body of the Senate. In present day, the debate has resurfaced following the election and rhetoric of the 45th President of the United States.
Court ruled today that burning the American flag as a form of political protest is a right protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution. The decision reflects a very divided court. The debate, as always, deeply divides the country.
The court system in America is based on legal precedent of past rulings and judgments. There are several important cases that have built the precedent to the point where it is today. The following are a few of the most noteworthy. In 1907, Halter v. Nebraska, the Supreme Court rules that states can pass flag desecration laws for safety purposes. In 1931, Stromberg v. California, the Supreme Court rules in favor of symbolic speech regarding a flag for the first time. 1974, Spence v. Washington, the Supreme Court ruled that protests physically using a flag could be seen as protected expression. 1989, Texas v. Johnson, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Gregory Johnson, who was arrested at a flag burning demonstration in Texas where a state statute held that flag burning was illegal. The Supreme Court overturned his conviction. Without question, the Texas v. Johnson case is a landmark, and the narrow 5-4 court decision illustrates how really divided opinion is about the issue of flag burning. 1990, United States v. Eichmann, in response to Congress's passage of the Flag Protection Act, which resulted in a large number of flag burning convictions, the Supreme Court overturned the convictions and declared that the Flag Protection Act was unconstitutional.
It's an opinion that basically condemns what the flag stands for, but think about it. The flag stands for so much freedom, it stands for the freedom to destroy this symbol.
Marevius Allen, a vice chairman of the Black Conservative Foundation and president of the Students for Trump organization at Baylor University, explains his view on the subject.
So I think we should differentiate the difference between the legal and political aspect of flag burning, because in a sense, the legal is what it is, it's precedent, you can't change it, but political is for progression, and you want to change it. Well, the legality issue is the Constitution says the First Amendment. You have the freedom to express yourself, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom to assembly. Well, in the sense that flag burning is showing your expression, you should be allowed to do that. It's a constitutional right, and we saw that in Texas versus Johnson.
Former United States Representative Chet Edwards, a longtime member of the Democratic Party, shares his contrary position.
I think the issue of flag burning and desecration is worthy of debate, and I revere the First Amendment, but I believe the American flag is something special. As someone who spends a lot of time at Arlington Cemetery, it is our nation's symbol that is draped over the casket of men and women who've given their all for our country. And I just am one of those who disagrees with the Supreme Court when it said that flag burning and desecration is legal.
Burning the flag is a form of expression. Speech doesn't just mean written words or oral words. It could be semaphore. Burning a flag is a symbol that expresses an idea.
Justice William Brennan, who wrote the majority opinion favoring Johnson, stated that his actions fell under the rights bestowed under the First Amendment. If there is a bedrock principle underlying the First Amendment, it is that the government may not prohibit the expression of an idea simply because society finds the idea itself offensive or disagreeable. The First Amendment literally forbids the abridgment only of speech, but we have long recognized that its protection does not end at the spoken or written word.
You know, the Supreme Court has ruled that freedom of speech doesn't mean you can yell fire in a crowded theater and put people's health or lives at risk. There are exceptions to everything, and I just believe the flag is so unique, it's so sacrosanct, it's so meaningful that it deserves our nation's respect and protection.
Justice John Paul Stevens co-authored a dissent stating that it is more than a proud symbol of the courage, the determination, and the gifts of nature that transformed 13 fledgling colonies into a world power. It is a symbol of freedom, of equal opportunity, of religious tolerance, and of goodwill for other people who share our aspirations. The symbol carries its message to dissidents both at home and abroad, who may have no interest at all in our national unity or survival.
As a congressman, I supported a constitutional amendment to protect the flag from desecration. And while I have great respect for those who voted the other way, they genuinely are standing up for a fundamental right of free speech. I think we can have free speech while still protecting a symbol of our country.
Polling data collected throughout the past 2 decades illustrates how controversial this conflicting argument continues to be. As shown, public support for a constitutional amendment to outlaw flag burning has flattened since the 1990s. Even still, it remains relatively high. Aside from legal reasoning about flag burning, important to consider are some reasons why the American flag is viewed negatively by individuals similar to Gregory Johnson. Some of these people regard the flag as a banner of international imperialism. Others see it as a representation of a country founded with inherent inequality in terms of race and gender. Not all minorities or women have considered it to be negative, though. African American leaders from the Civil Rights era and women on the front lines of the suffrage movement proudly carried the flag as an inspiration for their fight. Dr. Mia Moody Ramirez, an expert academic in the areas of female and gender studies research, states that today women are still fighting for equality in the workplace and in other settings. The United States flag offers hope as it symbolizes purity, innocence, valor, and bravery. More importantly, it signifies perseverance and justice. These factors offer hope and encouragement to all women. Some modern marginalized groups, such as Black Lives Matter, however, do not view the flag as a positive symbol.
The people in these protests who are of the African American descent burning the flags need to remind themselves that the flag doesn't represent the government, but represents all of us. And we've had people not only sacrifice their life for the flag, but have also done extreme things in the civil rights marches to gain the freedom to be represented under that flag. So we have to remind ourselves that yes, we need to keep the government accountable, but the flag is not representative of the government, but it's representative of the people. And if you're burning the flag in protests, what does that mean? Because are you protesting the struggles that we had to endure and the adversities that we had to overcome? Well, I think we should be proud of that, it's the red, white, and blue.
The beginning of time, and even including all the changes we've had with the equality, through races, through genders, everything that flag has still stood, that we have a voice to be able to represent what we need to as that flag stays consistent. Yes. Sometimes laws change, leaders change, and we're not happy with it, but that damn flag represents the same thing it meant in the very beginning. Yeah. True.
Late last year, 45th President-elect Donald Trump continued his aggressive rhetoric with publishing this tweet. He has more than once boldly expressed his desire to join these other nations to impose consequences.
We pledge allegiance to one flag, and that flag is the American flag.
Media figures and news organizations reacted to his words quite intensely. Notwithstanding stable Supreme Court opinions, calls for penalties have received powerful support from the past and the president.
I hope, Mr. President, that we can pass a law that criminalizes flag burning and desecration.
There are many issues I don't agree with President Trump on, but on the issue of protecting the American flag and keeping it sacrosanct from desecration, I would support his position. And in all due respect to First Amendment defenders, I would say the First Amendment doesn't mean you have to desecrate something that is so meaningful to our country.
Yes, I do agree with President Trump, and I would tell him that I would leave it up to the people. I would not make an executive order on the decision or push the court to, because at the end of the day, we are the government, not the president.
What cannot be forgotten is the unique outlook of United States service members and veterans. There are a countless number of which who have made the ultimate sacrifice to maintain the flag's original meaning.
The foundation of America has always been individual freedom. Freedom of speech and freedom of expression are part of the American soul. That means that each American is free to desecrate our flag if they so desire. Or they can give their life in defense of what that flag stands for. But until you have stood in the crucible of battle and have seen your fellow Americans, your friends, die while defending that flag and what it stands for, you'll never appreciate what it means. While I am sickened and repulsed by those who choose to desecrate our flag and ultimately denigrating those who died to protect it, it's the very freedom that allows them to desecrate our flag that they cannot take away from those of us who stood in the face of tyranny to give them that freedom.
What keeps this debate alive is that both sides present passionate and compelling arguments. Worth noting is that flag burning isn't a partisan line issue, it's a principles one. And whatever political or legal developments may occur in the future, the American flag should always remain a symbol for independence and exceptionalism.